The music experience or Sangeeta Anubhava ensures an organic unity between the performer, that is the Gayak, the poet, that's the Kavi, and the Rasiga, the listener, enjoyer, the Samalojak. Samalojak is the critic, and the Darshanika, the visionary. So there are five people there: the Gayak, the Kavi, the Rasiga, the Samalojak, and the Darshanika. Five people are there. At least the first two can combine, no? The Kavi himself also can sing. So maybe four or five anyway. So there cannot be an experience of music which is different from the performer, the composer, and the listener who enjoys or do some criticism on it. We can have the music experience either as a pentagonal figure, where the experience is the central thing and the five people are all around, or maybe as a hexagonal figure, where the experience occupies a peripheral part, just like the other five. A hexagon can be drawn like that. And the singer usually gives the material and the subject matter to elicit a music experience. That is the duty of the music, the composer, the singer, and the poet. The experience reflects. It reflects means imitates, mimics, copies, or represents the singer and his feelings or her feelings, which he had tried to bring out. It also symbolizes or expresses the feelings, intentions, purposes, meanings, ideas, and visions of the poet. So unless you know both these, the visions of the poet and also the feelings and emotions that the singer is trying to bring out, it will be difficult for you to understand or to experience the same. The poet also participates in creating the experience. It's not the singer alone, but the poet also has a participation. So the poet, composer, singer combined in one, like Tyagaraja. Tyagaraja is all these three. He's the poet, he's the composer, he's the singer. No, such a person is identical with the musical experience. But the others, one person sings the poem written by another and composed by another, that person cannot represent the entire musical experience, only part of the musical experience. So the identity of the creator of music, the poet, singer, composer, and the music experience is physically inseparable, though logically we can distinguish them. Physically it is inseparable, it is a wholesome thing. The performer, through the musical experience, is communicating the feelings, the intentions, the meanings, ideas, and visions to the listeners. The experience entertains the listeners, but it is not mere entertainment. The performer enjoys the musical experience actively, and the listener may appear to be enjoying passively. We may think that he is passive, but the listener who enjoys a certain level of aesthetic experience naturally admires the creator of that experience, the singer, poet, composer. And there are some listeners who stop there, being lifelong fans, loving and admiring the singer. They stop there. They don't go above from that. Others become the Samalojaks. Who are the Samalojaks? The critics. And they grade, evaluate, they criticize and also appreciate the performance, the musical experience, as well as the singer himself or herself. So they are the Samalojaks. They think for the singer and points out the defects so that the performer, if the performer is listening to those things, can improve the performer's singing. The Darshanika is concerned with defining the notion of the musical experience, the position of oneself, the Darshanika himself, in that musical experience. What is my position there? And his own identity with the eternal singer, the eternal listener. The eternal singer is God, and who sings through the nature, and the eternal listener is the Jivatma, who always listens without any break. Every time we are listening to that. So the musical experience stimulates the aesthetic sense and the attention of all the listeners, but to varying levels. The Darshanika is the one who understands and experiences the aesthetic experience of the poet, singer at a yogic level. It is such listeners who speaks about the musical experiences they had and tries to do it coherently. It's a special type of research. Sociologism is the theory which states that the artist can never be isolated from the listeners and from his own culture where he is living. An artist can never work in a vacuum. Don't think that an artist is working in the vacuum. To understand and appreciate any music or its greatness, the listeners and the singers would have to be coming from the same society. Then it will be more understandable. According to Ritwik Sanyal, in the book called Philosophy of Music, Ritwik Sanyal says that mysticism enjoins the artist to have an intuitive vision of ultimate reality, which leads to performance in greater depths. The idealization here is the result of some kind of meditation. Is intensive use of creative as well as spontaneous imagination. Dhyatva kuryat. That is, meditate and then execute or do the action. So before you sing or before you create a poem, you do some dhyana, meditation. Then only you create it. No? Every person is doing that. Even in a small job, you first meditate upon what you are going to do. And then only you start doing it. The purity of our imagination and emotions and the intensity of it takes us to a higher level of delight than we could know before. We experience sheer undifferentiated bliss. Anandaika ghanam. It is that word used. For we have come into direct contact with the deepest recesses of our own unconscious mind, where memory of a primeval unity between man and the universe, between man and God, between man and nature is still existing. We reach that realm, into that depth of experience. Music is a quest rather than a refuge. People think that it is a relaxation only, but it is really a quest, an inquiry, a research. Music is a quest, searching for something. That is a quest. No, we explore our own theories and practices of life through music. That is why it is a quest. The quest is for your own self, and we search for still greater knowledge and virtuosity than we have achieved. What yesterday I have achieved, I achieve more today by this continuous search. The ethnomusicologist's task is to expound the standards accepted by his own race. If I am concerned with the Indian music, as an ethnomusicologist, I will be concerned with the standards accepted by the ethnic race of India. The ethnic race means from Himalaya to Kanyakumari is a single ethnic race, but they have got different regional differences. So we will have to, when you are doing a research, you will have to concentrate on certain part of it. The philosopher's duty is to evaluate the ethno-musical system and standards on the basis of some independent criteria. Indian musical system has integrated the mysticism of the Brahmavadam and is called the Nada Laya Yoga. In Indian music, there is a perspective or viewpoint. Viewpoint is a drishti. We have a drishti, a viewpoint. And it is not merely a formal technique. That is the paddhati, you know. For a formal technique of singing, you call a paddhati or a pani or a bani. But there is, beyond that, there is a drishti. There is a perspective or a viewpoint for that. Beyond that paddhati. Axiology or the theory of values, which is the branch of philosophy that deals with values and value terms, is very important in Indian musical systems, whether it is the Hindustani or the South Indian classical or any folk music. These values are very important. Value systems are important. To know the value of traditional music system of India, we have to know the pramana and the pramiti. That is, pramana and pramiti means the methods and the systems of knowledge. Pramana is the method and the systems of knowledge and their practical side in our own life. These things, for example, if the pramana is only deha pratyaksha, the pramiti will be deha jnanam, pre-logical only. Then the practicality of it will be the body behavior alone. You think about the body, science body behavior alone. So the pramata is only the gross body. But at the end of it, the Kritopalabdhi state, it is the mystic state where the yoga samadhi is, the practicality is the samadhi state. The entire nervous system has become so calm and quiet, and you become the total samadhi state, the total shanta state, peaceful state. At that time, you are not a mere gross body. You are very, very subtle than that, and the most subtle part of it we call as the Atman. In between, between the gross body and the Atman are the Indriya, the Bahya Karana, the Buddhi, the Hangara, ego, etc. All these come in between as Pramada. So the top is the Atma or self as the Pramada, and the gross body is the lowest Pramada. Whereas on the other side, Pramana, the Deha Pratyaksha is the lowest Pramana, and the Kritopalabdhi or realization is the greatest Pramana, that experience. So in between there are the gradations. So that is the music experience. In fact, music is a system of knowledge belonging to the last three systems of knowledge. Which are these last three systems of knowledge? One we already told, this Kritopalabdhi, the yoga. Before that is the Avatharita Dharmam, that is the judged action state. That is the one which you call as the Dharma Shastra, from which spirituality emerges, the Dharma. There, the practicality is the Achara Kala, or the moralities, the rituals that we perform every day. That is the Achara Kala. For the Dharma, there is an Achara, Dharma Achara, Saddha Achara. And at that stage, the Pramada is the ego. I do this, this is my ritual. That stage is the Dharma stage. Then before that, Yukti Yukta Avadharanam, that is the reasoned judgment. Here, the Darshana Shastra, the philosophy comes there. The Shad Darshana of the Indian philosophy, where there is Yukti Yukta or reasoned judgment. And there comes the practicality is the Charukala, the fine arts. There the Pramada is the Andakarana. So the Andakaranam, ego and Atma are the three Pramada. The Yukti Avadharanam and Avadharita Dharmam and Kritopalabdhi are the three Pramana, for which the Pramiti are the Darshana Shastra, Dharma Shastra and Moksha Shastra. And these are the things that we consider as the greatest of the philosophies of India. So fine arts, the rituals and morality, the ethics associated with the fine arts of India, and the yoga samadhi state of realization through fine arts, through music, and the other fine arts also comes in these three states. And it is the music, the mysticism of the yogic samadhi state with adherence to the dharma and philosophy and the finest of all fine arts and the knower or enjoyer of the self, the Atman, that we are concerned more about. It combines the realism and romanticism of the naturalism, psychologism and sociologism of the humanism, and the moralism and mysticism of idealism. And therefore, it belongs to the relational teleologism. These terms are only jargons. Leave alone those jargons. There is non-relational deontologism or formalism in its technical side, but it does not make it formidable. Music is not a formidable thing. The naturalism and romanticism gives us the experience of natural forces of music. The humanism in it allows us to see the entire creation as the one, Advaita philosophy. And the mysticism in it gives us the most beautiful experience that a person can ever have of God in music. We will see God in music. The Nada Brahma is visualized with music. If a musician says that I have not visualized God, that means he has not visualized his own music. If the person has visualized music properly, he would have visualized God. If not, if he says no, I haven't visualized, that means his music is not up to the mark. That's all. Similarly, if you haven't visualized the thousands and thousands of yugas and kalpas in the starry heavens above, and you say that you know Jyotisha, you haven't known Jyotisha actually. Without knowing that, how can you know Jyotishmati? So, by the words of the person himself or herself, we can assess how much they have progressed in their own pursuit of the particular profession. Both the performer and the listener gets these experiences of God, and hence it is the perfect blend of aesthetics and mystic experience possible. That is the importance of music, rather than the jargons and this and that both the musicians and the musicologists use, as well as the philosophers use. It is the importance of that experiencing that oneness with everything that is important. When I look at these characteristics of music, I realize that I was fortunate enough to listen to the divine nada of M.S. Subbulakshmi Amma at a very tender age itself. At the age of 3, when I listened to that music of hers, it was I don't know what happened to me at that stage actually. I was so just like a small child loves the music of the lullaby of the mother, or maybe like even we can even compare it to a pashu pakshi, or even a sarpa, or a serpent listening to the makuti of something, the flute of the Krishna, like that. I was actually enchanted by her voice. I am like, I must say that I am so thankful to her, because it was because of her voice and because of that rendering of Krishna Bhakti in her music that led me to this levels of appreciation of music. So it was she who actually initiated me into this life of music experience. And MS actually concentrated on the idealism of music, on the bhakti, mysticism of music. And on when I think about Yeshudas, he also sings bhakti music. But he has a view more on the naturalism, humanism, idealism side also. He is not I don't think that he is that type of a mystic like M.S. Amma. He's not actually. More of a realistic, naturalistic, but humanistic and idealistic personality. That is what my research has told me. A difference is the anyway. What I want to say is each musician is unique in their own way of doing the thing, in their own way of rendering the songs, but the ultimately, if they don't love that music what they are using, if they are not true to that music, they will not be able to impart the experience to us. So our experience is more truthful than what they say, what they express out of their life. Our experience is very important in the case of music, not in the case of the other things. But in music, the musical experience the listeners have is very important. And the idealistic account of music recommends yogic and tantric exercises to extend the boundary and range of our system. Music in relation to the 6 psychic centers, that is the Shat Chakra, in our astral body is realized as the power or Shakti of the artist. She represents the Devi Saraswati. Idealism naturally culminates in mysticism. Mystical music is music in great depths. The identification here is the result of some kind of meditation. With meditation only comes the mystical music, in-depth music, and it is usually the intensive use of creative and spontaneous imagination alone can bring out that type of mystical music and mystical experience in the listeners. So that is why I said, if you get that mystical experience, don't think about the other things about the singer, but that music the person produces is good for you, because it gives you that mystical experience, that Shanta experience. It is that Shanta experience which the yogi wants, the Nadalaya yogi needs. If the person gives that, no other thing matters. Other personal things doesn't matter at all for the listener. Why should we think about the personal things and all? If the person is able to convey the mystical part of the musical experience, that is the natural, the godly way of experience. If you get it, stick on to that music, whoever gives it to you, whichever music gives it to you.